Hello everyone, this is Vanitas, and today we're going to do an in-depth deck guide to the Radovid Cabal deck. We're going to look at a few changes that I made since the hotfix, as well as some gameplay videos from both myself and a viewer. So first, for the changes. We dropped one Redanian Knight and Lacerate for a Redanian Knight Elect and a Temerian Drummer. We also dropped Rolololo or Margarita. And the reason for this is simple. Scoia'tael is less of a threat for blowout tempo, so we take a little more time building our board with the Knight Elects and the Temerian Drummer. Because there's a lot more of this armor type deck around, we took out Trollololo and we put in Margarita. Both the reset and the extra lock are very useful. The extra lock helps reset and unlock Olgierd without having to waste Radovid's power, and the reset helps against a number of decks right now. So without further ado, we'll jump right into this game from TuElite. He's about a 3.6k player, so not a total noob at all, but still making some mistakes that are keeping him from rising higher up in the ranks. And he's up against a John Calvate Spies deck. So the first thing to look at is the mulligan phase. Our hero here first mulligans away the Redanian Elite, which I think is a good thing. We already have two of them. Then mulligans away Sheila, which I'm not a fan of. So if we look here, he does not have anything to activate with Sheila yet, but because we play 3 Thunderbolt potions in this deck, we can afford to wait until the second round to draw one, or anything. But basically Sheila at a 7 point that can play a Thunderbolt potion is at least as good as a gold card when you can get her to work. And then our dropping our second Knight Elect, which I think is fine. The first mistake our hero makes is playing the Temerian Drummer right away. I usually go with Olgierd, which guarantees us carryover for next turn, or the Redanian Elite, which is not vulnerable to something like this. The vanilla 7-point card does not do much of anything by itself, so it's okay to wait and play something else that's more likely to stick on the board. There are many things that can kill 7 points. And then right away I think he makes another mistake here playing the Knight Elect. There's no real reason to buff a spy, because Nilfgaard Spy decks have a lot of ways to kill the spy. And starting with the Knight Elite also opens himself up to get hit by the Imperia Enforcer. So we're already in a pretty bad spot here. Going first and only up 1 point. I would definitely just drop the Olgierd here, because we don't know how soon this round's going to be over. We always want Olgierd out so that we have something to carry over to next round. This is a fine play. If you have 2 targets, they can only grow in strength over the course of the round. So here we see the opponent commit to Rain Farm. That's a pretty weak play from the opponent. And here's another big mistake. This is although the 9-point play to reactivate the Knight Elect is a good one, we have a better play here, playing Olgierd. If we're up, even slightly, and have Olgierd on the board, we can just straight pass the next turn if our opponent goes for another big play. But here we're just up by 2 and not in a good position to pass. So we're okay. And then here's the first turning point of the game. Our opponent here is only down by 13 points, which is really easy to cover. Menno covers it. Basically any gold will cover this gap. We're in a pretty tough spot now. If we had Olgierd out the previous turn, we're still down 13 points and we can just pass and have a board next turn. If we had played Olgierd last turn, our opponent's Cantarella puts him back the same 13 points, but he has to cover it next turn. But since we have Olgierd on board, we can just pass, force our opponent to go down to 6 cards. And then we go to round 2 down 1 round, but we have Olgierd on board, which puts us at a basically even position. But now, in this position, our hero has to go down 2 cards, wins the round, but down 2 cards. It's a tough spot going first, but you always want to avoid this situation. Okay, let's see how our hero mulligans this turn. It's a fine mulligan. I do like the decision to try to push through here. We want to force our opponent to get back to even cards, even though we're down by 2 right now. These first 2 plays are good. Set up as much of a carryover board as possible, even though we know this kind of play is coming. We want to force it to happen. Playing Stennis, this is also... okay, this is another thing that our hero could have done earlier. Since we already have Shani and Renew in hand, we can afford to play Stennis because we can revive him twice in the second and third rounds. And the strong plays early mean that our opponent won't be able to play Cantarella into a board that he can cover the next turn. The other reason to keep Sheila is because we don't want to pull Sheila from Stennis if we don't have any potions in hand. That's why I never mulligan Sheila away. The opponent here goes for a strong Joachim play, maybe trying to force us to pass into a 2-card disadvantage, which we're definitely not going to do. Okay, here's, I think, the last big mistake our hero makes. Playing Dijkstra right now, there's too many cards left in hand that can be not very powerful. We're better off playing as strong as possible right now. For example, Shani into a Knight Elect gives us a 6-point card with 9 armor, and then playing the Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry into that gives us a huge play. Bigger than anything Dijkstra and another card can do. Plus, we can use Shani this turn because we have Renew to use her again next turn. If we do that, pass with Dijkstra, Renew, and Renew going into round 3, I'm pretty sure we would bring the opponent also down to 2 cards going into round 3. That brings us back to even though we started this round down 2 cards. And yeah, we see here that Dijkstra pulls 2 mediocre cards. Marguerite is not bad, but this is a wasted Hailstorm. And at this point, we're only up 16 points, having used most of our bullets. Our opponent's just biding time and trying to keep within a 1-card striking distance to go to the last round. Up 1 card. I would have also probably just passed here. Yeah, I don't like... So, instead of... Let's take a look at that again. So we use Shani to pull an Emissary instead of anything else. We would have done better doing the Elite, just like I said earlier. Or almost anything else. This is a really low value Shani play. It's 5. Yeah. Why not just revive something else that gives us a bigger target? And now this is... I spoke too soon. So this is the last big mistake our hero makes. Passing here down, or up 18, when there's 11 point spy on the board, there's no way it's not Minnow coming out here and taking him down by 1. Might as well just play the cavalry one more time, pick up 13 points. then he has to cover not only this, but another 12 points, and that's either going to make him use another big bullet before the end of the round, or make him use 2 cards. But as it stands, he set up perfectly to come to the last round up 1 card, and so we're in a pretty bad spot. I probably would have mulliganed the Redanian Knight just because it's not that strong of a play. And as we watch the rest of the game, we can just see here that we're probably going to be behind on power. This is just I mean, look at how big our opponent's board's getting, and the game was already lost before the 3rd round. I mean, it's technically possible to come back in some of these situations, but often unlikely. So what we could have come to the last round with just Shani and Dijkstra, which would have been much stronger play. Okay, and yeah, not enough points, so forfeit. Okay, so I pointed out a few big mistakes, not dropping Olgierd early, going 2 cards behind, and then not taking the most efficient route in round 2, leading to an underpowered round 3, down a card. That series of mistakes cost our hero the game. Okay, now we're going to jump into one of my own games. This is my first game that I played against the Nilfgaard Spies deck after watching our hero TuElite from the last round. And we're up against Ben Moore the Pioneer. This is on the pro ladder, so it's a pretty stiff competition. We mulligan away the Redanian Knights. Although they are decent targets for the Impera Enforcers, we prefer the Redanian Elites, and it's not really a big deal either way. They're never going to target them. We also get rid of the Thunderbolt Potion, could do with or without, just mulligan it away for a chance to get Olgierd. This is a slightly modified version of the deck I was messing around with, but the cards themselves don't matter that much. The overall strategy is the same. Our opponent starts out with the Impera Brigade. It can be tempting to want to lock it right away, but no need. We have our own way to build tempo with the Redanian Knight Elects, which is why we're holding on to 2 of them. Skip ahead. Our opponent plays a Rot Tosser. I mean, we know the most that his Rot Tosser is going to be worth is 6 plus the 4 points from the emissaries. So we just leave it alone. We let him take these spies off the deck, because if he plays another Impera Brigade and these spies are not there, it's just a loss for him. We play Stennis here because we don't really have terrible Stennis targets in the deck, only Sheila, but if we're able to pull Olgierd, that's a huge benefit, and if not, that's fine, but it puts us up in points, which is important, because it means he can't just straight pass. So our opponent here making a decision from his hero ability, and he actually ends up making a terrible decision. I can't imagine what his other options must have been to play this card, because he does absolutely no damage. Okay, we let this go off, so no more targets for the Impera Brigade, and we're in a pretty good setup. We've got our Knight Elect engine started, and our opponent options to pass. even though we're ahead. So we go into round 2. So there's two options here. We can either straight pass and force our opponent to play a card, or play out this round and sort of control our own destiny. And I usually prefer to play out a round. We mulligan away the second Dunbonner heavy cavalry because it's not that important. We'll probably have a chance to pick up another one later if we need it. And again, we're just setting up the engine. Our opponent makes a pretty good play. It gets rid of our point engine. So we use Valor here to make sure that we go into the next round at least even on cards, and it gives us another chance to pull a better card. We didn't really have a great play there. Our opponent responds in kind, which is expected. He attacked the Cantarella there to set up the Imperial Brigade, which can kill a 7 health spy unit. So it's not ideal to put the Nightellect here, but it's also not a big deal, because we know he's going to kill it right away anyway. And now we can take out the Enforcers, and look at that, without even getting anything really impressive set up, we have a 13-point lead and are in a pretty good spot. At this point, we can see that we're probably going to go to round 3 with just a few cards. We're going to play this round out quite hard. And why not, right? Like, he doesn't have anything going on right now on his board. We at least have the Nightellect available to buff again, using the Thunderbolt potion just straight up, using it through Sheila, or through Kara. And yeah, we use Sheila here. There's no reason to ever deal with the cow right away, basically. It's not a threat until the second turn after your opponent plays it, so we can set up a good board here. That's a very low value play. Use the rare Kira Epidemic. It saves us 9 points here and takes 2 extra spies off the board. So now we're up 20 points. You see, we just keep building a bigger and bigger advantage here. And we still have Dijkstra in hand, which is one of the biggest, probably the best single turn 3 card we can have for our deck, and better than anything that our opponent will have. We set up the buff on the elite for the heavy cavalry. Our opponent goes here, goes all out and plays Joachim. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Like, he's probably not going to be able to take me over in points in this round, but he's still playing like his big combo, right? And okay, so that's the Imperial Brigade. That's why it was good to Epidemic with the Kira. We save a few points here. See, he makes this big Rainfarn into Joachim play. And what happens? He's still down 18 points. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. Okay, this plays the meme card, which is... I don't know why anyone's playing Frigella in this deck. Because, yeah, hailstorms everywhere. Okay, so now we know he's going to play Menno. So we just pass. So we're going up one card into round 3, which would have been the same as if we just passed at the start of round 2. But there's a big difference between going into round 3 with 2 cards versus 1, and going into round 3 with 9 cards versus 8, or whatever, or 6 versus 7. I have twice as many cards as him. We got the Summoning Circle, which is a new addition to the deck. But we have no idea what's going to come out of it, so throw that away. And yeah, this is pretty easy. He has one of the better cards he has left. I don't think he could have asked for a better last card, but we win with just basically any 2 cards we pull. And that's why I like to play out the second round. Because if we can keep that 1 card advantage going into round 3, 2 cards versus 1 is just a world of difference over anything else. They don't have any time to build anything up. We can control what cards we keep into round 3 and basically guarantee victory. Alright, so that's that. Alright, that's it for today. So just take a look here at my record so far in the pro ladder with this deck. Doing pretty well. No obvious bad matchups. I'm finding Skellige pretty easy with this deck now. Swordsman is not the easiest matchup, but it's also very playable. This deck does really well against other Radovid decks, and against any weather deck you have a big advantage, especially if you can mulligan into your Redanian Knights. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, click like. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll be making some more content this weekend, so anything you like to see, just let me know. Until next time, this has been Vanitas Cabal.